Let's have a look at question with a sequence. The first 3 patterns in a sequence of patterns are shown below. Each pattern is made up of dots at points in the coordinate plane that have integer coordinates. What that means, oops, what happened here? What that means is that each dot, the coordinates of it are full numbers. They are not fraction, they are not decimal. So as we can see it, let's say like here will be 1 and 0, isn't it? Here will be 0 and 1. Or let's say if I pick this dot, that will be 1 and 1. Okay. As shown below, pattern 1 has a dot at all such points that are a distance of 1 unit from 0, 0. So we can see one distance, 1, 1. Okay. And pattern 2 has a dot at all such point at a distance of 1 unit from a point in pattern 1. Now, note the difference. Here, there is no dot in the middle, but then there is dot here, and then 1 unit from pattern 1. So pattern 1 has this dot here, so 1 unit, but that dot isn't included here. So what we can see that in pattern 2, we do not have pattern 1 because pattern 1 would have been here. That's what pattern 1 is, but it's not here. As the sequence continues, the pattern n plus 1, so any next one, has a dot at all such points that are a distance of 1 unit from a point in the previous pattern. So again, if I'm looking at pattern 3, so let's remove that so that we don't get confused. So this is my pattern 2. And as you can see, this is where pattern 2 is. It doesn't have dots, yeah? So 1 unit, 1 unit. Yeah, so that's the idea. So what do we have to do? 9 of the dots in pattern 4 are shown on the coordinate diagram below. Draw in the missing dots to complete pattern 4. So that's what we have to do. Do not mark any points that are not in pattern 4. So like we are saying, we are observing that the fact, so let me just remove all of that. So let's get some highlighter. So this is pattern 1, and that pattern is here. It's not here. Then if I'm looking, I have these, and that's my pattern 2. So therefore, that's my here. That will be the pattern 2, isn't it? So that means that's the pattern 4. Now, they don't want you to draw these. Oh, yeah, sorry. And this is where I should do with my pattern 3. So we can see how they are working. The reason now, you shouldn't have the lines there, but I just wanted to show you how it works. So that will be my dots, therefore, here. Yeah, and they are exactly on the points where my squares meet. So we get the idea, and like that, we could continue. As you can see it when we do them like that in colors, it makes kind of sense. Okay, let's have a look at next part. In pattern 2000, so I had pattern 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5, 6. This we are talking about 2000. There are 4 points that are a distance of 2000 units from 0, 0. Write down the coordinates of these 4 points. So I need to write coordinates. That means I have to write X and Y that are in that pattern 2000. So I need to have some form of observation of the coordinates and what happened here. So let's have a look. So if I'm looking at the very first pattern that are 1 unit away from point 0, 0. What are the coordinates? So this coordinate will be what? 1 and 0. This coordinate here will be 0 and 1. This coordinate here will be -1 and 0. And then this coordinate here will be 0 and then -1. Now, when I'm looking at second pattern, Now we are seeing 2 units away from that point 0, 0. So let's again consider now these points in pattern 2. Starting the same way so that we can see how the coordinates are developing. So this point here will have coordinates of what? 2 and 0. Then this point here will have coordinates what? 0 and 2. Then this one here will have coordinates -2 and 0. And this one here will have coordinates of 0, -2. Following the same logic. Now let's take that a little bit down. So following the same logic, then if it is pattern 3, which is 3 units away, and look, if you are seeing already, that's fine. But if you are not seeing, we're going to see that pattern 3. So again, if I'm looking at this one, 1, 2, 3, 3 and 0, coordinates of this point, again, 1, 2, 3, 3 and the other way around, my apologies, 0 and 3. Then this point here, -3 and 0. And then this point here, 0, -3. Well, so that means if I am looking at following this logic, following the same idea we are having here. So if I replace that with pattern 2000, 2000 units away. Well, that means that the coordinates will be what? If it is pattern 3, 3 units away, and I have 3 and 0, therefore 2000 and 0. Then the next one, again, you can see the pattern, 0, 2000. Then again, you can see the pattern here will be -2000 and 0. And then this one will be what? 0 and -2000. So by observing the pattern 1, 2, 3, we can see how the coordinates are changing. Therefore, it's easy for us to apply that same logic to any pattern in that particular sequence. Okay, and let's look at the last part. What is the smallest value of n that belong to n for which the point 4 and 4 is in pattern n? So what are they looking for? Let's understand that. What is the smallest value of n and what is that n? Basically, they are saying, well, which pattern the smallest? Because let's think about it. Let's say point 0, 0 is in pattern 2, is in pattern 4, and it will be in pattern 6, and in pattern 8, and so on. So they are talking about the smallest, the first one, basically, where we're going to have a point 4, 4. Do not draw on your diagram in part A. So let's consider 4, 4. That means what? That both x and y are the same. Where am I going to have this point? Like, let's start from the beginning. The first one is 0, 0, we understand. The next one will be what? 1 and 1. So that's where I have 1 and 1. Then the next one will be what? 2 and 2. I don't have 1, 2, and 2. I don't have it. But then I have 2 and 2 here. I'm saying, okay, so pattern 2, pattern 4. Well, that make me think, and from observation, I can understand that only even pattern gives me that. So if that is, then following that logic, this is pattern 2, this is pattern 4, then the next 3, 3, that will be pattern what? 6, so that means that will be pattern 8. But again, it comes from the observation of what we've seen so far.